Do you want a wobbly, silly Killa Kan in neon colors? Of course you do! Hello and welcome to Dice and Demons. I'm Emma, and in this video I want to show you how I painted this very, wobbly Killa Kan. It was such a fun project. So I started out with a bottle that's been primed using the white scar spray, and then I decided I wanted to do something with purple. So I grabbed a contrast paint called Luxuriant Purple and started splashing color on the model basically. It's not that obvious here, but it is actually a really nice purple color. It just shows a tiny bit more blue than it actually is in real life. With the purple paint down, I remembered that perhaps I should do all the black stuff first, so I don't have to redo all the more colorful steps. Other types of contrast paint, if they touch the black areas, that's not really a big problem, but if the black areas touch the more colorful parts, well, obviously you have to go back and redo the whole thing. So I painted a lot of black first, even though I really want to get to the colorful parts because that's what I enjoy painting the most. So with the black paint down, I grabbed another contrast paint. This one is called Volupus Pink, which is also one of my favorite contrast colors. Then lastly, for the main colors on the model here, I used Croxigore Scales, also a contrast color. It's one of the newer ones, and I haven't been using it that much, but I really like the color. It's sort of a bit more of an intense version of the Aethermatic Blue that I've also used extensively on my painting projects. And lastly, for the base colors, I decided that this little orc head that he's got on one of his arms, I wanted that to be green. I usually don't use a lot of green on my armor plates for my orcs just because I don't want it to conflict with the color of the skin, but there is no skin on this model, so I thought I could just do a tiny little green head here on the arm. Then I grabbed my Pterodon Turquoise, also one of my favorite contrast paints. I have a lot of favorite contrast paints. And I use that to do sort of a dark outline, highlighting, or well, dark lining, lighting or every single shape. I really want them to contrast with each other, so that's why I prefer to do dark lines around each bit of the armor. And then I also use it to do cross-hatching with, as you can see here, just a bunch of parallel lines basically. It's not actually that hard to do, you just need a little bit of patience. And also don't worry if you have some lines that aren't completely perfect. The entire model will be covered in so much detail that you'll hardly ever notice anyway. Then to highlight the bluish turquoise part of the armor, I grabbed a paint called Blaster Blue from Huge Miniatures, and I mixed that with a little bit of white. And it's sort of a nice vibrant blue color, and I use that for my first layer of highlights on the turquoise part of the model. And again, I do the same basic thing all over again. I do an outline, so this would be, a highlight, and then I do a cross-hatching again. And I try to place the lighter cross-hatching on top of the model, well, most of them anyway, just to give the illusion of light on the model. Then I put a little bit more white into the blue mix, and I retrace my steps basically, while also making sure you can still see the first layer of highlight. I don't want to cover them entirely, so I do this a little bit more sparingly than I did with the first step. For the purple armor, I use a paint called Ultraviolet, also from Huge Miniatures. All the paints that I'm using from Huge Miniatures were by the way, sent to me by Huge Miniatures, so I could do a review of them, and I'm just still using them because, they're fluorescent paints and I really like working with them. But full disclosure there. The ultraviolet paint I have also mixed with a tiny bit of white, just because otherwise it doesn't really show up for the first step. But other than that, I sort of redo the entire thing that I did with the blue turquoise part of the armor. I try to be a little bit careful here because I want these sort of teeth markings to look nice and sharp. Then I go back over it with a bit more of the same colors, just again using a bit more white. And as you can see right here, I am not putting the highlights at the top of the model, but actually at the bottom. This is sort of the lower part of the front teeth, well, they're armor plates, but they look like front teeth. But that's just because I want to highlight that bit and not the bit of the top, which is just not as interesting, I think. Then for the pink armor, I first used a paint called Pulse Wave Pink, also from Huge Miniatures. And that I apply, as you can see, in exactly the same way as I did with the others. And you can see I try to take care a little bit not to cover the initial dark outline that I did with the Pterodon Turquoise, because I just think it gives sort of nice a nice texture and a nice visual interest that you have both a bit of dark and light at the edge of the armor panels. Once I'm happy with the Pulse Wave Pink, I go back over the same armor panels using Cyber Pink, which is also a color from Huge Miniatures. This is just a lighter pink, which is also really nice. And then lastly, I sort of do a quick highlight using Pure White, which I try to be careful with because I don't want this to look too much like My Little Pony, even though some people would probably will probably say that it's already too late. For the green orc skull, I also do a dark outline using the Pterodon Turquoise, exactly for the same reason as I did with all the other armor panels. And once I'm happy with that, I do the first layer of highlight, and for this I use a Citadel color. This is called Mood Green, which is a sort of quite nice, vibrant green color. It's not fluorescent though, which of course, I mean, it's not exactly a problem, but you know, I really enjoy fluorescent colors. So my next step, of course, is adding some fluorescent color, and I use a paint called Quantum Green from Huge Miniatures, and I take particular care to highlight these sort of facial features here. I want it to be really visible and easy to sort of read at a glance that this is actually an orc face and not just some random green armor plating. And the last stage of highlighting for the orc face is adding a touch of Starfire Yellow, a nice vibrant neon yellow color. It's got sort of a cool tone to it, so it's not something you want to use for a highlight if you want to have something that looks nice and warm, but as a highlight for you know, green orcs and stuff, I think it works really well. And so here you have the bouncy Killa Kan in all of its well, glory. I'm not quite sure that's the right word. In all of its silliness. This has been, well, so much fun to paint, and I mean, I like the paint job. I think it's cool and fun, but I particularly, of course, like the whole silliness of the entire project. And it's just a couple of chains and a piece of clear plastic, and you can have a very happy wobbly Killa Kan of your own if you want to. Also, of course, as I'm using fluorescent paints, this is what the model looks like under a UV light, which, as I've said so many times before on this channel, it has no practical use whatsoever, but it's just fun. I enjoy knowing that I have an entire army that could go to a rave party and not look out of place. Yeah, so if you've enjoyed this video, I, of course, would really appreciate a like and a subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, of course. And also remember, you can follow me as Dyson Demons on Twitter and Instagram as well if you want to stay up to date on my painting projects and, well, other silly projects like this as well. So if you have any comments or any suggestions as to what you would like to see me do next year on this channel, I would also love to hear from you in the comments section below. So thank you so much for watching this one, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!